about 2 years, and we specialize in home warranties. More specifically, ACHOSA means the power to choose. So we give your homeowners the power to choose their own vendors that come out in their homes. A lot of contractors do not like to work with traditional home warranties. But we are not traditional at all. We do pay those contractors while they're still in the homes. I came from another home warranty company that was very traditional. And after, befriending several agents and just kind of seeing the experience, my boss, and who is also the owner of this company, he actually formed this company because we kind of wanted to get away from that traditional, those traditional practices. So I'm very excited to be with this company and very excited to be here with all of you today. I can be reached at Arius, that's ERIUSW at achosahw.com, or I'll also share my direct cell phone number in the messages with everyone if you have any other questions.
Thank you, Erius.
You're welcome.
Um, again, if you are not familiar or have never worked with the Chosa, we use their product all the time. So you definitely want to reach out to us. And we're so grateful for them sponsoring this event today. So for the month of January, I wanted to really kick off the year. I thought safety training was a great way to kind of set us up for the rest of 2021. I had an opportunity to listen on a podcast where our guest speaker, Tracey, the safety lady was speaking, and I was so impressed with all of the information. And I really felt that the people in my community, in my group or circle that I know, really needed this information as we're going into 2021. She talks a lot about using safety as a way to help grow your real estate business. So I am happy to introduce Tracey to you guys today. Thank you, Tracey, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Are you ready for me to take it away?
You can get started.
Okay, and I cannot go on without saying to Arius, thank you so much for co-sponsoring the program. Without sponsors, safety information doesn't get through. So thank you so much for doing this. And to Andrea, and I have a niece named Andrea. I don't know if it's Andrea or Andrea. Which is it?
It's Andrea.
Andrea. Oh, I can never get it right. Um, you, you. Thank you for seeing the value of expert-led safety education. And one of the challenges that I face in this business is that everyone thinks they can do what I do. And you all know how that feels when it comes to FSBOs, right? That anyone can do it, how hard is it? But this is truly my passion and I've made it into a profession. So I really appreciate that you recognize me and that you wanted the best for your agents, if I may say that. So let me get to my PowerPoint here. Okay. And I am assuming everyone can see the screen. Am I correct? Okay. And then here's what I'm going to say. I'm a natural fast talker. I have a lot of information to cover. If I am going too fast, I want Andrea to jump in and say, Tracey, slow down. And another thing is my programs are interactive. I can't sit here and talk for the whole time. So I am going to ask you all to chime in. And you can do it either way. You can chime in the chat section, or you can unmute your microphone and just speak up. And I've lately had more and more participants who like speaking up. But Andrea, if you will do me a favor, if people comment in the chat section, I'm not going to be able to read it. Will you just jump in and say, hey, Tracey, I've got an answer here, or I'll call and ask you. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. First and foremost, who am I and why am I here? I am a former real estate agent. As a matter of fact, I have a twin sister. She and I got our licenses together about 35 or so years ago. She hates when I say those numbers, but it is what it is. She's still an active, involved real estate agent, and I'll talk about her a little bit later because one of her passions is something that may impact you all if you are investors or property managers. I have spent the last 26 years traveling the country, used to be literally, now virtually, teaching agents how to live and how to work safely and how to make a little more money doing so. And I also get an opportunity to write for the National Association of Realtors Realtor magazine. And I've written an article for NARPM, and also been a safety expert for Inman. So the writer says, whenever we have a safety question, whenever there's a crime in the news, we're coming to you. So I get that opportunity, and I'm excited to be here today. I created a group on Facebook called the Safety and Security Source for Real Estate. And when we get done today, I'd love for you all to join that group, because that's where I talk all things real estate safety. We talk about the crimes against agents, which you may not know are happening. And we talk about the lessons learned. I talk about upcoming classes and any articles and resources. So that's a great place to be. I had, and my business is somewhat challenging because I'm talking about safety, so it's not a glamorous topic. I contacted an education director and I said, hey, I want to come in. I used to contact them on a regular basis. I said, I want to come in and talk to your agents about safety. She said, Tracy, that's great. Your information is necessary, but agents are not going to show up for any training unless you're teaching them how to make money. So I had to put on my thinking cap. It's like, how do I add profitability to the equation? I created my own designation. And that designation has had over 600 agents completed, and it's 2 CE classes that I wrote, and they complete the full classes, they earn the designation. So I found a way. We don't have the time today to get into all of it, but I do want to highlight and share some of the tools and handouts with you, so you at least get the some of the benefit of that designation. First question, can anyone name the risk of the job that you're doing? Tell me the risk of being a real estate agent. And you can unmute your mic and say it, or if you put it in the chat, Andrea will let me know. So what are the risks?
Being with people you don't know.
Exactly, great point, Willie. Strangers. Give me one more. Someone give me another risk.
Going into neighborhoods you're unfamiliar with.
Thank you. And this is a group of salespeople, so I'm not expecting shyness today. So thank you, Willie. Excellent point. Excellent point. Your job description.
You can call me Dave.
Dave. Okay, I see Willie Dave, so I'll go by Dave. Okay.
All right.
Got it. Okay, your job descriptions read that you make a living meeting complete strangers in empty houses. You make a living sitting in empty houses, waiting for strangers to walk in. How does that sound?
I was on the point.
Scary.
Exactly, it is scary. Did you all know that the U.S. Department of Labor considers real estate sales and leasing a high-risk, hazardous occupation? Who's heard that? Most people haven't. Most agents haven't, and that's scary to me. You're ranked up there with law enforcement officials, security guards, with convenience store workers, and it used to be taxi drivers, now it can be Uber drivers. My job is not to scare you, but to help you remove some of those risks and do your jobs in a safer manner. Who has heard of the Beverly Carter story? Anyone familiar with her story? It's made national news years ago. Let me tell you.
Yes.
Oh, who is that? Jasmine. Jasmine, can you summarize it really quickly for us, or do you want me to do it?
You can go ahead.
Okay. Beverly Carter was a real estate agent in Little Rock, Arkansas, and she got a phone call, and it was a cash buyer. And you all know what happens when we hear cash buyer, right? She got excited, made the appointment. She was sitting in her office thinking about it. And the way I know that is I wrote an article for Realtor magazine, and I got to interview her office mate. And Beverly was thinking, what am I doing? I don't know this guy. I set up an appointment. I've got a really bad feeling. She called him back. She called him and she said, look, I'm not comfortable meeting with you alone. He said, oh, don't worry. My wife is going to be there. As a matter of fact, she's here now. And he put her on the phone. We later found out it was his accomplice. So Beverly had a level of comfort. She went ahead and met at the property. But when she got there, it was just him. And she was startled. He said, oh, wait, my wife had to work. Put her on FaceTime and she can walk through the house with us. So Beverly called her up on FaceTime, and those were the last images found on her phone. She walked through the house, and the bottom line is he ended up kidnapping her and murdering her. They found her body later. One of the main reasons that he gave is that she was a rich broker who worked alone. Her son now travels the country talking. I got an opportunity to hear him, and he said that his mom had like $165 in the bank. But you all have to give the impression that you're successful so that people want to work with you. You dress nicely. And when you take your marketing photos, it's usually in front of a big house and a fancy car. So he got the impression that she was rich and he was going to kidnap her and get ransom. And that didn't work out. As a result, her family, what happened? Okay, her family sued her real estate company. Sued them, and they said if she had some kind of safety training, she would probably still be here today. So that's when I had the aha moment. It's like, let me find a way to reach brokers, managers, and owners. And another reason I am impressed with Andrea, let me find a way to reach them and let them know the value of having expert-led safety training. So that way their agents know better. And if something happens, they can't say, you never told us, you never provided us training. So Andrea has taken an important first step in having this awareness training. So again, thank you for that. I created a workshop, a certification where I teach brokers, managers, and owners how to not get sued successfully. So that's a whole nother program. I created the country's only office manual safety policy handbook. And it's something that leadership can go through with their employees, have them sign off on. Again, another way to reduce liability. So you think after Beverly Corridor, there probably hasn't been a lot of stories about crimes against real estate agents. And I'm here to say that there have been. The most recent one, and I don't know if you've heard this story, is this real estate agent in Omaha. He and his family just bought a property. He had the keys. He was going to meet the client or the new tenant over at the property and give him the keys. The tenant decided to murder him, left his body in the crawl space. This happened last month, or was it this month? And that the guy was arrested, and he was known in the real estate community as someone, they all got phone calls from him. They were uncomfortable. So that is I don't blame the victim, but that's an issue that training could address. So that's why I'm glad to hear we're here to talk about it. Here's the next crime. This one happened in December in Houston. This real estate agent was missing from her house and no one knew where she was. And she was in Texas. And then later they found her in Louisiana in her car, unconscious. She's been in the hospital. We don't have an update on if it was real estate related, but that's what the headlines were. She was found, and it woke up a lot of people who thought, how dangerous are our jobs? This is one of the most recent ones. This happened here. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri. This is a suburb of Kansas City. I don't know how many of you all are landlords. How many of you all are landlords or investors, property managers? Any? Andrea is. Okay, and I don't know, okay, and you're recording this, so I'm hopeful that some others who watch it are, and they know the dangers. And I'm assuming there in Ohio that the tenant movement is aggressive there as it is here. Am I right, Andrea? Where the tenants think they should have free rent, they want you to cancel rent. Is it prevalent there?
Absolutely.
Okay, and it's a big deal here. And my sister and her husband happen to own a lot of properties. And she's one of those girls who she doesn't take a back seat. So she's out front saying, you're telling, the media's telling stories about the tenants who feel that they are being victimized. What about us? What about the landlords? What about the property owners who aren't getting rent? We can't maintain our bills. We can't pay our expenses. So the environment is hostile. I worry about her now. The environment is hostile. So the guys, the homeowners sent servers to evict a tenant. And it just so happens that the tenant pulled a gun. And it just so happens that the process servers had a gun. So they shot him, didn't kill him. But the tenants are now protesting, saying that he shouldn't have been shot. Very interesting. So the environment is hostile. That's my sister, Stacy. Stacy is on the front line. She's going on the news saying, this is dangerous. You can't do this. They're targeting judges now. They're targeting attorneys who represent these landlords. So that's a whole big deal. And I have a whole property management program. So it's more dangerous for real estate agents, especially if you're investors nowadays. So those crimes are in the news. In Seattle this summer, a property manager and service manager went to evict a tenant. She ended up stabbing and killing the service manager, stabbed the property manager, did not kill them. Here's another story from last year. And my point in telling the stories is just so you are aware and to learn the lessons from these stories. Again, not to scare you, but to let you know that these crimes are happening and they're happening everywhere. So this is in Ohio. Are you guys familiar with this story?
Tracey, you have me scared.
No, the goal is not to scare you, but to make you aware. So by the end of this, you're going to say, well, thank you for letting me know what's going on. And not only that, thank you for giving me the tools to deal with it, right? You'll see. But I want you to be aware, because if you're walking around not knowing this is happening, you have no clue. And it hurts me when I talk to agents who say, we didn't know it was so dangerous and no one told us. I'm telling you. And this happened in Ohio. A real estate agent was out in front of her listing, and these guys pulled up in a car. They asked for her business card. She reached in to hand it to them. They grabbed her and they tried to kidnap her. She was able to get away and to the safety of her car and call for help. Keep being scared.
I personally know that last story, I personally know the agent that happened to.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Oh,
that was very scary. So that was in North Ridgeville. She did, so that's like west side, most of us are east siders probably, but that was local. That was Cuyahoga County. So
tell me this, so good to know. So tell me this, tell me about the neighborhood, because so often I hear agents say, I only work in the good parts of town, or I only work in daytime. I don't have to worry about crimes. Tell me about that area of town.
So that is a nice area, and the agent that did happen to, she was a white lady, and as you can see, that happened with two white men. And what actually happened is they had called her and to set up a showing.
Oh, that's not what was reported.
And then that's what happened. She, when she showed up to show the property, they had tried to snatch her and she ended up getting away. So yeah, it wasn't not a bad neighborhood at all.
See, and that's what, when people say bad neighborhood, I want to scream, because there's no such thing as long as criminals have cars. And that is where the good stuff is.
A crime, a neighborhood where the crime rates are high.
Exactly.
It wasn't that type of neighborhood.
Exactly. Excellent point. Excellent. Thank you for making that distinction, because that's what I do on a regular basis, because it happens everywhere. So tell me this, Erius, did she know them before? You said she got a call, and that's not what was reported in the news, but she got a call to go show them the property, and that's when it happened?
Yeah. They not immediately, but she did have a scheduled showing. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know when they, when they would have called it. I don't know but they did. She had a scheduled showing, and then they, when she showed up to the house, she was alone, and they seen that and tried to take her.
Wow. Wow. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that insight. I appreciate it. Wow. I don't know if you all know, New Year's Eve of last year, Monique Bauer, real estate agent in Minnesota, same situation that Beverly was in, same one that we all have been in. I've been an agent, same one we've all been in, got a phone call from a client, and she showed up to meet the client, and they ended up kidnapping her and killing her. Now, the problem I have, and I'll just do this as an aside with this story, is people tried to make it as if it weren't a real estate related crime, because there was some have you all heard this story? Anyone? Okay, there was some speculation about her boyfriend being a drug dealer, and the criminals went to their house and shot him. She wasn't there, so they called her to set up a showing, and then that's when they killed her. So people in the real estate community, they were saying this is not real estate related. She should pick better boyfriends or whatever. And I had to disagree vehemently. The fact is, if not for her job as a real estate agent, it wouldn't have happened. She got a phone call, and her occupation made it where she could show up at a house. So that's the message here. Same story. You need to do your homework before you show up. Just to briefly talk here in California, last year, the year before last, last year, I need to erase it from my memory. Everything happened in 2019. She was showing a property, and she knew that there was a camera on the front porch. The guy made her uncomfortable. She walked out to the front porch, and he assaulted her right off to the side, but it was all on camera. I wrote an article, and it talks about the things that she did right to survive. And I'll tell you how to find that article at the end. Another story in Colorado, an agent had her gun when he pulled pepper spray and a knife on her. She pulled out her gun. And so it's happening everywhere. This is Houston. In Atlanta, a photographer was going to go take pictures of the house. The agent failed to tell the homeowner the photographer was coming, failed to tell the photographer that the homeowner may be home. And she went in her room, closed the door, thought he was breaking in, and started shooting through the walls. Again, she hit him, didn't kill him. Guess who's getting sued? The company and the agent. So you need to make sure that there's good, clear communication. Okay, so more stories than you probably ever wanted to know, but the point is to let you know that those stories are happening. Here's a question, and I often ask, what does a criminal look like? Here's what I'm going to ask you now. I want a physical characteristic, just the physical description, political correctness aside, of someone you are afraid of, someone you don't want to see walk in your open house or show up for a meeting. Physical description, just give me one, give me two.
Tracey, there was a comment of just saying, wow, so many stories.
It's the tip of the iceberg. And if I told you more, you'd probably curl up in a ball. But I mean, the stories happen on a regular basis. And I tell you again, just so you know that it's happening so that you can be cautious when you're working. Anyone give me a physical description of a criminal?
It can look like anything.
Come on, Erius, give me a physical description of someone that you see walking in the door. You're thinking, nope, I want no part of that. Or someone who shows up. Physical, adjective.
Well, we used to be able to say someone in a mask, but we can't really say that anymore. Huh?
Exactly. And
Somebody
that is scary.
unkept.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Dave. Okay, so a lot of agents think you can judge a book by its cover. You think I can look at someone and size them up and determine whether or not they mean me harm? I'm here to say, don't judge a book by its cover. Judging a book by its cover could cost you one of two things. It could cost you your life, or it can cost you business. Okay, picture. If you see this guy coming into your open house, you're in an upscale luxury open house, or you have an appointment to show a luxury property. Who knows who this fella is? Anyone know who this is? Anyone recognize him? Dave wants to say a name. It's Sam
No,
Walton.
I don't know.
Sam Walton. Sam Walton is the guy who started Walmart. This is how he went around town. So he wasn't dressed fancy. If he showed up to your luxury open house or to an appointment to look at one of your high price houses and you judged a book by its cover, it would cost you business. You would dismiss him, right? Anyone recognize this fella? And if you're judging a book by its cover, he shows up, you're thinking, okay. Anyone recognize him?
Looks like a criminal to me.
That's the guy that killed a lot of people.
Exactly. Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
Ted Bundy, exactly, Erius. He is a serial killer. When people describe him, they say he's clean cut, good looking guy, right? So if you judge this book by its cover, it would have cost you your life. So I'm here to tell you, you can't determine who's a criminal based on what they look like. So you're saying, Tracey, what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to use? I don't know how many of you all watched Oprah when she came on daily. She had an author on named Gavin De Becker. He wrote a book called The Gift of Fear. Now, the book talks about a fear signals that we all possess. We're all born with them. Who can tell me what actual tool that we all already have that can keep us from ever being victimized? What's it called?
Instinct.
Discernment.
Bingo. This is the second time I've heard discernment. I'm going to write that down. I did a program.
Okay, discernment. Okay.
I did a program this week in Oregon, and someone said that's the first and second time I've ever heard that. Excellent point. Instinct, intuition, sixth sense, gut, fight or flight, whatever you want to call it. Every animal in nature is born with that survival mechanism that's hardly ever wrong. Human beings are the only ones who ignore it. And we ignore it because we want to be nice. We want to be polite. We don't want to offend anyone. We don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. If you don't hear anything else that I say today, you must hear this. Listen to your bodies. Trust your instinct. Again, it's never wrong. I got an opportunity to talk to two veteran agents. They've both been in the business over 20 years. One agent was excited because she was going to show a new client houses in a ritzy part of town. She was going to show a doctor houses. So she told the agent on board duty, and I'm dating myself, right? She told the agent on board duty, let me know when my client gets here. So the agent on board duty sees a doctor come in with this lab coat on, and she went back. She said, your client's here. She said, how well do you know him? She said, oh, not at all. She said, I've got a bad feeling about him. Can you postpone the showing until you check him out? She said, you're so silly. So she went to go show the doctor houses, mansions that afternoon. She got back to the office later that day, and she got a phone call from the doctor. And she said, you're talking strange. You know, you're talking as if we haven't met. He said, what are you talking about? She said, you know, you're acting if you never met me. I spent the afternoon showing you houses. He said, what are you talking about? She said, you had on your lab coat, your name tag. We looked at houses. He said, 2 weeks ago, someone broke into my office and stole my lab coat. It wasn't me. So she went back to the other agent. She said, what did you see that I missed? The other agent said, at the time, I couldn't tell what it was. I just knew my gut said something was wrong. She said, but after you left and I had time to think it through, he had on his lab coat. How many of you all have ever seen a doctor walking around the grocery store with his lab jacket on? Doesn't happen. What about at the gas station, at the pump, pumping gas with that lab coat on? Doesn't happen. That was clue number one. The second one, she said, when he asked for you, he put his hand on the counter and his fingernails were absolutely filthy. How many of you all have seen a doctor with filthy fingernails? Doesn't happen. The whole point is that your gut is saying something's wrong. I'm telling you, don't try to use reason or logic. Don't try to figure it out. Listen to your gut, get out of the situation. If you need to go back, circle back with your client and either apologize or explain, so it goes. But that feeling doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from somewhere. It could be something off, something wrong, but listen to it. No excuses. That book should be required reading for everyone. You need to have a safety plan. And a safety plan means these are the procedures that we do every time we work. The first time you deviate and say, I don't need to do it this time, I'll take a shortcut, that's typically when you're going to have a problem. Have an active, involved safety plan. I get an opportunity to check out my competition, and I know you guys do as well. I want to know what everyone's talking about. It startles me when I hear information that should not be said. So let's just talk really quickly about what some of those no-nos are, and then we're going to talk about developing a safety plan. And I'm looking at the clock. I have 30 minutes, and if you think I talk fast now, you just wait. Now, because I have a lot of information, and my goal is to get it in. And Andrea will tell me if I'm going too fast. Red files. Who's heard the red file as a use for a distress signal? Anyone heard of that red file?
I have.
Okay. Red file means here's our secret word. If we're in trouble or in danger, just call the office and say, I need the red file. I'll know you're in trouble and help is coming. About 10 or so years ago, here in a small town in Missouri, a real estate agent was going to meet a new client. She was going to show him 3 houses. She had never met him before. So, they met at the first house. And when they were inside, he raped her. He said, we're going to the next house and we're going to do it again. She said, wait, I've got to call my office and make sure it's set up. She called her office, and whoever answered the phone, she said, hey, this is Susie, real estate agent. I need the red file. And the person on the other end said, what are you talking about? So they went to the next property, and just pure coincidence, another agent showed up to preview the property. She took off, left that agent with a rapist. Fortunately, nothing happened. The moral of the story is that if you have some kind of a distress signal, everybody needs to be on board. But more importantly, I say banish the red file. Get rid of it. I get to travel. I used to travel all across the country, and I guess I still do now virtually. And I always ask that question. People always know what the red file is. So if real estate agents know what the red file is, don't you think perpetrators know too? And if they know that you're calling to get help, they're going to be angrier, and it may even escalate the attack. No more red files, and we'll talk about another way to do that with technology. Nowadays, it used to be in the olden days who would say, meet me in the coffee shop, or I'm sorry, come into the office. So that way, before you even met a new client, they had to come into the office. That did 2 things. One, it allowed you to qualify them, make sure they could afford the houses you're going to show them. Secondly, it increased the witness potential. The goal is to show them that there are people who know who I'm with. They can identify you if something goes wrong. Granted, a lot of agents never did that anyway. Now with the pandemic, agents are not in their offices so much, so they're forced to do it. I hear a lot of people saying meet in a coffee shop. If you meet in a busy coffee shop where they don't necessarily know you, that doesn't serve the purpose. They can't identify you. They're busy. You're just one of many faces. I say meet in a public place where you are known. It could be a coffee shop where they know you. So that way they're more likely to recognize you. And if you're with someone, they'll know that. And then I don't know, Erius, if you have an office space with a conference room, but I'll bet your partners like your warranty company, your mortgage company, your title company will allow you to use their conference room if necessary. Do you have that kind of space, Erius?
I do not have office space. I'm just in my home office, but yes, I work with plenty of realtors that will let me use like their conference areas and their office space.
Excellent point. So that means don't be afraid to ask whoever has space for you to use for a public meeting. And that, of course, lets them know that someone can identify you. So,
Hey, Tracey.
Yes.
When I started in the business, it was a common practice of asking the client, like have the client meet you at the office, and then we were going to ask for copies of their IDs and take photocopy of those IDs. And I can pretty much across the board say that that's not happening nowadays. I think part of it is that we're so, especially since 2020, we're so much more a virtual business that it's harder to kind of meet me at the office, type of setup. So have you seen any other things that offices have been doing in this case, or agents have been doing for like best practice?
Right, and that's something we're going to talk about, but let's talk about it now. Virtual. You all have had to be virtual to stay in business in 2020. You had to. So therefore, offices were closed. You had no choice. My sister just went to her office last week for the first time in about a year. Everybody's working from home. So in situations like that, you have to be virtual. And we'll talk a little bit about how to do that. But using the Zoom meetings or FaceTime or Google Duo, that's been important. Also using technology, we're going to talk about an app that you can use that pretty much does the same thing. It mirrors having someone with you. So you all had to adapt on a virtual basis. And no one can use the excuse that we don't know how to get online now. Even consumers, no one can say that because everyone has had to. So no more excuses. And virtual, that's the way it is now. And most offices have closed. So there are no more offices. So excellent point. I also hear experts saying, don't do open houses alone. And some places I know are open again, so you're able to do open houses. Some places you can't do open houses. Are you open? Are you able to do open houses?
Yeah, in Ohio,
Yeah.
we never stopped. We've been working this whole time.
Really?
Louisiana also, we've never stopped.
Oh my gosh. I was in my one on-site place last year was in South Dakota. So I'm there, first on-site deal. Everything else had been virtual. So I'm standing there in the classroom and they said, we never close. It's like, what? And then just going around town, people didn't have masks on. So it can be dangerous. So you all are, I guess you haven't missed a beat there. You're doing open houses. So many are doing virtual open houses. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. So very interesting. But when someone says, don't do an open house alone, are you all doing open houses to sell the house? Yes or no?
Really, to get more clients.
Yes,
Exactly. So you're doing it for business development.
right.
Yeah, because 77% of the open houses don't sell the houses, but you're doing it to get more clients. You're doing it for lead gen. So if someone tells you don't do open houses, you're thinking, I'm not listening to you. I'm not going to stop doing them alone. But I will tell you that you have built-in affiliates and partners who I guarantee you will accompany you on an open house. Erius, have you ever done an open house with an agent?
I have, yes. And I always tell them all the time I'm available because I actually like that. And it actually, along with safety, it actually is a great selling point because people are like, oh, this house comes with a warranty. Oh, okay. So, yeah, so I usually come and bring like cookies or something and for their guests or like refreshments. Sometimes
That's what I was going to
mimosas.
say. Did you say mimosas?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at you.
Because that's a nice touch. Some of the
Exactly.
open houses are on Sundays. Sunday is like brunch, mimosas
Exactly.
type vibe.
Excellent point. That's what I was going to say. You all have affiliates, partners who would do backflips to do open houses with you. And I always say they'll probably bring refreshments, and look at Erius bringing mimosas and everything. So excellent point. So you never have to do an open house alone. So if you don't have an Erius in your market, you have a title company, you have a mortgage company. So no excuse to ever do an open house alone. We're going to talk about how to use technology to do so. Some people still like writing on a form. As members of the National Association of Realtors, there are forms out there for you to use. A piece of paper that you can fill out, client information form, agent itinerary form, just pieces of paper that you can actually use. Leave it for someone to say, this is who I'm with. This is where you get a picture of the ID of your client and you attach it to the form. And then you also staple your itinerary to it. And then you leave it on a desk or leave it with someone. It could be an adult child, a spouse, another real estate agent, your receptionist, if your office is set up for it. And you can say to them, this is where I'm going to be. Here are the list of properties. Here's who I'm with, and give them a time range. So that way, if you don't show up, first of all, they know you're missing. Beverly Carter, even though her story ended tragically, she did a few things right. One of the things that she did right is she told her husband where she was going to be. So when she wasn't home at the time he was expecting her, he went directly to the property. He saw her vehicle there and he saw her purse there, and he knew something was wrong. He was able to get the police involved immediately. Someone needs to know where you are at all times. I'll tell you a way to do that. in a technical manner, but this is the form, and you can go to nar.realtor, search my name. You'll see all of the articles I've written. That article is there. That article happens to have a link to all of the forms on the NAR website, or you can just go there to search. Okay, let's talk quickly about domain names or COVID scams. They're prevalent, and it's so sad. When a crisis hit, these criminals sat down at their computers and opened up their businesses too. They bought up all the domain names once it looked legitimate, and then they immediately started emailing, contacting people. Here's how you can donate to the cause. Here's how you can request help or assistance. And you need to be extremely careful when you get an email or any kind of communication. They're going text now, they're going by text, and you get any communication that's talking about the pandemic or the coronavirus. Here's what you can do to help. I always say, before you take action, stop, pause, and think before you click any links, before you respond to anything. Just stop. I get text messages all the time, and I was surprised to get a text message from PayPal, and it said, hey, your password has been compromised, click here to reset it. Normally, what do? Oh my gosh, we immediately click. I stopped, thought about it, and then I went to the actual PayPal site. Everything was fine.
Mhm.
So it's happening.
I just got that text message the other day too. That's
Are you
so
serious?
funny.
Oh my gosh. And they're clever, and I think even Amazon, they're getting them from Amazon. So everyone's getting the IRS. So before you respond to an email or a text message, just simply stop. Leave whatever that is, go out and Google is your friend. Go to Google and Google it and search and log in directly to your account, whatever it is. Just stop. They're sending out emails about contact tracing. Don't click on the Excel spreadsheet to find out who you might have been in touch with. A lot of real estate agents got to take advantage of the assistance. So they know that. So they're sending out information. Here's how you can apply for a loan, more assistance. No, no, and no. So there are all kinds of scams. One thing I also talk about doing is for real estate agents to lead with safety. You all need an opportunity to talk to your clients on a regular basis, just to reach out throughout the years. I heard a statistic the other day that once a real estate agent shows and sells a client a house, how many times does that client buy with that same real estate agent again? 12% of the time. Why? Because the agent's not in touch with them. They're not top of mind. So if you all are thinking, what kind of content can I share with my potential clients, my past clients, my current clients? Lead with safety, share safety information, talk about the scams that are out there. Just maybe every 2 weeks, once a month, say, I just wanted to make you aware of these scams. And there is a website. There's a website that lists all of the scams. So you can say, I just want to let you know, here are the top 3 new scams regarding the coronavirus or regarding COVID. Be safe out there and make sure your logo, all that information is there. You're not asking them for business. You're not selling them anything. You're saying, I'm thinking about you and your safety. And here are some safety tips. No one else is doing it. So be that person. We talked about meeting in a coffee shop somewhere where they actually know you. Okay, there are 7 names. I said, yep, I can still count. 7 names on the board. Anyone see a theme? What do you notice? What do you notice about the names? Anyone see a trend? Really? Come on, Dave. You look like you want to say.
Are they all men? Hyphenated.
Okay, wait, I heard it. I heard they're all men, right? And so often people think safety, that's just a girl thing, doesn't impact us. So whenever I see a guy here, Dave, thank you for being here. Kudos for being here. You need to know that crimes are happening against male agents as well. And got 15 minutes left. I don't want to go too long on this topic, but I want you to understand the kinds of crimes. David Abbasi was a real estate agent in Atlanta. During Safety Month of 2016, he met a client at a property. He was killed. Ryan Vega, a real estate agent in Las Vegas, who was stabbed in the neck. He survived. Sidney Cranston Jr.'s body was found after being missing for 18 months after he met a new client. Is it Lane Gamble? I can't see behind my name. Lane Gamble, a real estate agent in North Carolina, who was sitting in front of a property, had someone put a gun to his head. An agent in Washington was severely beaten. That was June of 2018. A real estate agent, this is a broker owner in a small town here in Missouri, in January of 19, who let someone in his office either to use the restroom or get water, who was not only robbed at gunpoint, but machete point, they held a machete to his neck. David Stocco, real estate agent in Utah in January of 2019, who was going to evict someone from his property, who was killed. It happens to male agents, it happens to female agents. The article that I wrote for Realtor magazine was the most read article of the entire year on the website in 2017. It affects male agents as well. So that's an article I'd like you to share with other agents that you know, especially those who don't necessarily think that it involves them. It happens to both male and female agents. Let's talk about the dress code. I don't have to tell you all to dress professionally. Real estate agents are some of the best dressed people I get to talk to, but I need to tell you to dress safely. That means save your fancy, expensive jewelry for special occasions. I go in open houses. I went in one before, and the agent had more diamonds on one finger than I've seen in one place in my entire life. The murderer of Beverly Carter said that he picked her because she was a rich real estate agent. There's a perception, there's a bullseye on you all. People think you're rich. When you say, I sold $1 million, and then people think, oh my gosh, she has $1 million. They don't realize, what is that, 17, 18,000? So you need to be careful. The image you're putting out there lets people know you're rich. Remove some of those dangers. Ladies, I can't tell your feet, so I'm not pointing anyone out, but I'm telling you, high heel shoes are hard to run in. So if you're in a property like in the Colorado agent who was upstairs in the bedroom and then she had to run for her life, if she had on heels, it would have been hard to do. You're in your car's alive. You get stuck on the side of the road, hard to walk for help when you're in heels. Sad to even have to think about. They were talking about shoes. I was in Nashville a couple of years ago, and I was talking about agents wearing heels. I had an agent right near the front row take off her heel, her stiletto. She said, "This is my weapon." She was prepared to use it as a weapon to defend herself. And then I had an agent in Kansas who said she had to take off her shoe to defend herself, and the person on the other end got stitches. If you're not that person who can use your shoe as a weapon, just wear shoes that you can move around in, especially in an emergency. Typically during the pandemic, I would say, I don't have to talk to you about clients in your cars, but if you never close, and you may have clients in your cars. When I was in South Dakota, I said, do you at least have masks on, when you're with your clients? I had an agent say, nope, not unless they ask. I'm just here to say, listen to the CDC and we will move on. We talk about pictures. Real estate agents, and again, I don't know what anyone here does, but real estate agents as a whole, you all love having your pictures everywhere. And my sister's the same. Like I say, our picture, we're twins, our picture is on her business card. It's on her website. It's on her Kansas City Chiefs and her Kansas City Royals schedules when she mails them out. And I ask her, it's like, Stacey, why do you have your picture on your card? Is it going to help you sell more houses? Will it help you get more listings? Her answer is, I am my business. So you all are into branding. No matter what I say, you're probably going to put your picture on things. Let me just give you a few words of warning, if I might. Make it a professional picture. I've seen pictures. This is an old group of Google Plus hot real estate agents. Some of the pictures there would just petrify you. Look at that billboard. You see that real estate agent in the bikini? She said that it made her website visits go up, and she's all right with that. Male agents do it too. Dave, don't let me see you on a billboard anywhere. Male agents do it too. And this agent, if you look at the last line, it says you have to look at creative ways these days, even if it means pimping yourself out. I'm telling you, you need to be careful, because they targeted Beverly Carter. They picked agents, and sometimes it's based on what's out there. So make it professional pictures. I was in Las Vegas speaking, and I had a back row of agents. I call them glamazons, and they took exception when I said, you need to be very careful with your picture. See that picture on the top left? That's the picture on their business card. This was their website. Look on the bottom. It says, call our hotline for any one of our angels. Look at the picture. What kind of phone calls do you think they're getting? And then again, it's Vegas. So I'm just here to say, use a professional picture. Most agents will not ask clients for their driver's licenses. They just won't do it. So has anyone here ever said, I need to take a picture of your license, or I need to take a picture of you before I show you? Anyone ever done that?
Back when I first started, we used to do that, but it kind of fell off.
Agents won't do it now, Andrea, they just won't.
Definitely a good practice.
but they won't do it. They won't do it. I talk to agents, you know, you should do it, but they won't do it. So then we need to talk about a workaround, and I'll tell you that in a minute. And I'm looking at the clock. We have 10 minutes, so let me move through this. You need to know who you're working with. When we talk about words to avoid in advertising, if you are writing your descriptions and you're saying things like secluded, isolated, romantic, hidden, you're telling criminals this is going to be a great place to commit a crime. So be careful the words that you use. Let's talk about technology. You all have had to go virtual. You're working virtually, you're doing virtual tours, and you're showing pictures and you're marketing more there. And I'm assuming that even if your business is open, you're out there, there are some buyers or some sellers who just don't want people in their house. They don't want to go in houses. So you have to work virtually. I'm here to tell you to be careful what you're showing in the background. So if you're showing the media room with all of the expensive electronics, you could be setting your clients up. If you're showing an expensive gun collection in the background, or if they have expensive artwork, you need to be careful, because that is just giving a criminal who, again, is at home from sitting at their computer trying to decide which house it is that they're going to burglarize next. You're making it easy. So be careful what you show. Focus on the house, focus on the features, and not what's in the house. Your location, you all go live. You're working virtually, so you know if you're social media savvy, you're on Facebook, you know if you go live, the algorithms are better and you get more views. You need to be careful, because not only are you telling people where you are, you're telling them where you're not. And you're thinking, what's the big deal? Nobody can find me. I've got something to say to you about that. But before that, I got an opportunity to interview a real estate agent who used open houses as lead gen. So she said, when I'm doing my virtual open houses, she does them live. She does not put the address there, because if you put the address there, again, you're telling people where to go. And stalking is a big deal in real estate. So she doesn't put the address there. She's in the house showing the house. And she said, if you want to see this house, either messenger me or send me a text or an email. In other words, tell me who you are, and then I'll give you the address. And then that is how she releases the address. But she's done two important things. One, lead gen. Now she can follow up with them. She knows who they are. And secondly, that helps distinguish their actual clients, because she has their contact information and she knows who they are. So think about that. And I also had another agent who does virtual open houses, but she tapes them and then she posts them on Facebook, and people think she's live, and she's not live. She's at home safe. So keep in mind that if you're doing a virtual open house and you are live, that people can find your homes. And I'll tell you why that's important. You need to be careful about social engineering on Facebook. Social engineers are there. They're looking at the information you're sharing, and they're remembering it, and they're using it to steal your identity. If you see the post, and remember the post, you know, show us your high school pictures and the year you graduated, or what about show us your first cars? People are sharing and showing this information. What is your pet's name? Show us your fur babies, whatever, and what are their names? Think about it. If you get locked out of a social media account and you get the security questions, they ask you what kind of questions. Where'd you go to high school? What was your first car, right? So social engineers are keeping you social on Facebook and social media, but they're gathering that information to use it against you. So you need to be extremely careful the information that you share. Cyber insurance, this is something that you need to think about. If you're working from your personal laptops and not your business laptops, and you have client information on there, and if your account gets hacked, you have a problem. You have a liability problem with your clients if you have their financial information on your computer. This is where you work with your company, that you make sure that you have your IT person, make sure the firewalls, all the security procedures are in place, and work on your company laptop, or make sure that you're working in a secure manner, following the IT protocols of your actual company. So that way you're not just on your son's computer logging in, or your kid's computer, and then it gets hacked. So be extremely careful. And I'm going to just kind of zoom through, and Andrea is recording this, so this information will be here if you need to look at it later. I need to talk to you all about, and this is phishing. And I've already told you, before you respond to any emails, before you click on any links, to stop and think it through, and that will help prevent phishing. But an even bigger deal, if you have a Gmail or a Yahoo website, I have a Gmail account. I like it. It's easy. Criminals like it too, because it's easy for them too. It's easy for them to hack into those accounts. Now, if you have a company domain, your real estate, for example, Andrea at brickhouserealty.com, they know that that's a business email address and they probably have security protocols in place, not even going to try. But if you have something, and I don't know what you have, Andrea, so I'm not picking on you. Let's say it's Susie at Susie the agent at gmail.com, then the criminal's thinking, oh, that's going to be easy for me to hack into. So definitely when doing business, use your company domain. We don't have to talk about Zoom bombing. When that was an issue, Zoom stepped in to fix it. But what we will do, what is that? Zoom data breaches. We're on Zoom all of the time. There are criminals on the dark web who are looking for our Zoom login, our email login information. You need to make sure that that is not going to be visible for them. So what you need to do on the bottom box, and I don't know if you can see this screen, there is a website, I forgot the .com, but there are no more vowels. That's the way it's spelled. haveibeenpwned.com. And there is no vowel between that P and W. It looks weird, but you need to write that down or do a screen grab. And when we're done, you need to go there and enter your email addresses, all of them. The one I use most, I had 28 data breaches, and it tells you to go to those websites and close it. That includes, or change your password. That includes Canva, that include Poshmark, and a lot of others that you will recognize. So go and check haveibeenpwned.com, enter your email addresses and know which ones are an issue. Privacy, we're not going to linger on this one. If you have a Google Alexa or any of those devices, they're always listening. So you need to be careful if you have one in your office or where you do business and you're talking, if you accidentally say a client's name or someone's name, it could call them and you're having a conversation and they're listening in. So I had an expert say, just simply unplug your device while you're talking, just in case you say a keyword that activates it. Unplug it, because there truly is no such thing as privacy. Okay, you all have your coronavirus techniques down. We have exactly 4 minutes. Seller listing plan. Here's where I'm going to give you the 2 things that you can use to start building your business using safety. When you go on a listing appointment, I have created a seller safety and security checklist that allows you to walk through the property with the sellers. When you walk in the door, you're not talking about CMAs, you're not talking about how much they're going to net in the marketing plan. You're saying, here's what you need to do to keep your house safe. So you're walking through, you're saying those stacks of mail, get them out of here, because you probably have financial statements and bills there. You're saying this devices, your kids' little phones and electronic devices, get them out of sight, because you don't know who's going to be in your house when it's on the market. Tell them to get rid of personal pictures. Again, you don't know who's in the house, and you don't want criminals seeing their daughter, their teenage daughter, their wife in bikinis and their family beach pictures. You're telling them to get jewelry out of jewelry boxes, medicine out of medicine cabinets, anything of value. You are going through this checklist and they're thinking, oh my God, that's a good idea. We never thought about that, or we were scared to put our house on the market and we didn't know how to protect ourselves. You are leading with safety. You're the ones telling them this is what you need to do. You're not talking about money. You're talking about their safety. You're talking about lighting, locks, and landscapes. You're talking about if someone shows up at the property to see it, you're never allowed to let the agents in. If they say they're an agent, don't let them in. You tell them, close the door. Tell them, I'm going to close and lock the house up. I'm going to leave. Access the house through the lockbox. That way you don't have to worry about your sellers letting strangers in. You're telling them different ways to be safe. Here is the article. Read the article to learn how to use the seller checklist, and then click on the link to request that checklist. Here's something I did. FSBO safety sheet. We'll wrap up with this. FSBO safety sheet. Whenever you see a FSBO, you want that listing when it comes on the market. But FSBOs, do they want to talk to you guys? They don't like you. They don't respect what you do. They think I can put a sign in the yard and I can sell the house and make the money, save the commission. You need to show them it's not that easy. This is a sheet I've given away thousands upon thousands of these. Staple your business card to it. Every time you see a FSBO, either mail it, stick it in their door, hand it to them. You're not talking about listing their property. You're not talking about bringing a buyer. You're saying here are 13 tips that you need to be safe while you're selling your house. You're talking about don't let strangers in your house. You're telling them to screen. You're telling them to get valuables out of sight. You're telling them not to show a loan or to have someone with them when they're showing. You're letting them know that they need to let the clients lead so their exit isn't blocked. By the time they get to number 13, they're going to think, what? Oh my gosh, I didn't know. I didn't realize this was dangerous. Your business card is attached to this sheet. read the article, find out how to use the sheet to market, and I guarantee your business card will rise to the top of the stack. No time to talk about Facebook. Just keep in mind on your personal Facebook page, you can't talk about business. Facebook will shut you down. Do it on your business page, and on your business page, if you talk about open houses, don't say, come and see me, I'll be here. Talk about the open house, talk about the houses, because if you do that, you're telling them, here I am, come and see me. It's going to be you and me. So make sure you don't do that. You know what not to say on social media to stay safe. And finally, just know that there are websites out there whose job it is to compile information about you. I typed in my address and it talks about how many bedrooms I have, how many bathrooms. It talks about the value of my property. It talks about demographic information. If I type in my name, it talks about where I've lived, my childhood home, first house, first apartment, where I live now, and a map. And this is all for free. If I type in my name, it has my age, and that's a year old. And I shudder to think it's up to date. Typically talks about who lives in your house. All of that information is out there just for criminals to see. So when you say they don't know where I live, they know where you live. They can find that out. You need to Google yourself or set up a Google alert with your name, your company name. That way, if there's ever anything on social media about you, you get an email to the link so you know what's out there and you can prepare yourself accordingly. Use a Google alert to protect your sellers from Craigslist fraud. So that way, list all of your listings as a Google alert. And if anyone ever publishes it as a rental when it's not, you'll get an email. You can go to your sellers and say, hey, you need to be careful. Wire fraud, you all know that. I know that's probably something over talked. Go to Boston Globe, search my name, find an article where I talk about some real estate scams. And this is the safety app that I was telling you about. This is the one that when you're going to be showing a client, if you're alone, you push the button and a live person comes on and say, hey, Tracey, are you okay? You can say, hey, I'm fine. This is my new client. Say hi to my safety partner. They say hi. They know that real time you're talking to them. So the maybe would-be criminal knows that you're not alone. There's someone who's looking at them, who can identify them, who knows your GPS location. And Andrea, if that's something you're interested in, or any real estate companies, if you all are interested in a free trial, let me know. I work with the actual developer of that. I'm just thumbing through, making sure we're not missing anything. Just make sure when you are showing a property that you realize that there are more than likely cameras everywhere. From the time you're standing on the front porch, you're walking inside, that they're listening to you, so you lose your ability to negotiate. If they hear your buyer say, we want this house no matter what. And here are ways, this is a screenshot you can grab to keep your phone safe from the virus without spraying cleaner and disinfectant on it. There are certain items that are specifically designed to keep your technology safe. Utilize your iPhone, find my phone, utilize Google Maps, you know, where's my phone? And this is free. It can trace your phone, tell you where your phone has ever been. And then finally, pepper spray. That is the #1 non-lethal safety product that the National Association of Realtors found out that real estate agents use. Pepper spray. So if you're going to get pepper spray, know what you're buying. There's a difference between mace, pepper spray, and tear gas. Look at the label, make sure you know what you're buying. And this is also an item that I sell if you're interested. Other than that, here is the Facebook page. If you want to be in the loop on anything real estate safety related, join the page. And if you found value in our program today, go to that page and then make a comment under the posting of this event today and just let me know what you think. Here's my contact information. If you want to email me and ask me for either of those documents, I am happy to send them to you. Andrea, any questions in the comments?
I don't see anything that's out there, but I have a comment of wow.
Is that a good wow?
That was a great wow. That was a lot of great information. I definitely like how you kind of started out to bring that awareness so we know what's going on. Sometimes we're just, on the move. And honestly, I don't really watch the news. I don't sit and watch TV. So some of the stories I kind of heard about, to know how common it really is, we really have to do a better job as real estate agents of protecting ourselves. And I think you did a great job sharing with us how important that is. Do you guys have any questions out there?
Oh, I appreciate the class. Do she teach any CCW classes? And where are you Zooming from? What state are you in?
I am in Kansas City, Missouri, and I stay in my lane. Weapons are not my they're not my expertise, but one thing that I've done is I've created a virtual safety summit, and I have different topics, and I bring in subject matter experts who know things that I don't know. So that's one on my list. As a matter of fact, Dave, is having a weapons specialist, especially a real estate safety expert. So if you are on my Facebook group, you'll see when that class comes up and know that I bring in subject matter experts.
All right. We appreciate you. Appreciate the class.
Okay. Okay, wonderful. Any other questions or anything? Okay, Erius, thank you for being here, for your input. And
No,
for,
thank you. Yes, that was
sponsoring.
amazing.
You're amazing. Thank you for making it possible. And Andrea already knows that as a broker owner, that you took the step to make sure your agents are protected. And so that helps reduce your liability. Plus, it's just simply the right thing to do. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for having me.
There's lots of thanks in the chat saying great safety information. Just
Wonderful. Okay, if anyone's interested in any of the products, the pepper spray or anything, let me know, or the agent safety app, let me know. My contact information is there. I look forward to hearing from you guys.
Well, there you have it. Thank you guys. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Erius at Chose a Home Warranty. Please reach out and connect to with these two. Definitely some benefits to your business as we're going into 2021. Every month, we'll continue to have at least one training open to the public during the month. So, and who knows, maybe when we get closer to the second half of the year, maybe we'll do an actual CE class, and bring Tracy back out. So stay tuned. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining today.
Thanks, everyone, and be safe.
Thank you. Right.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.